betrayed by us, innocent yet stricken, wearing thorns, how he bleeds. Word in flesh, standing trial in silence, banished to Calvary. Marvel at the Lamb of God, Christ became the sacrifice. For our sake, He bore the cross, healing the vast divide. Pierced by nails, still He prays forgiveness. Finished, life vows to die. Water, blood, found in mercy and love, where assailed souls can hide. Marvel at the Lamb of God, Christ became the sacrifice for our sake. Jesus on his knees, blood like sweat upon his brow. Hear him plead for the cup to pass him, but to heaven's will he bows. Betrayed by us, innocent yet stricken, wearing thorns, how he bleeds. Word in flesh, standing trial in silence, banished to Calvary. Marvel at the Lamb of God, Christ became the sacrifice. For our sake, he bore the cross, healing the vast divide. Pierced by nails, still he prays forgiveness. Finished, life vows to die. Water, blood, found mercy and love, where assailed souls can hide. Marvel at the Lamb of God, Christ became the sacrifice.
Early in the morning, all the chief priests and the elders of the people made their plans how to have Jesus executed. So they bound him, led him away, and handed him over to Pilate the governor. Meanwhile, Jesus stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" "You have said so," Jesus replied. When he was accused by the chief priests and the elders, he gave no answer. And then Pilate asked him, "Don't you hear the testimony they are bringing against you?" But Jesus made no reply, not even to a single charge, to the great amazement of the governor.
Now it was the governor's custom at the festival to release a prisoner chosen by the crowd. At that time they had a well-known prisoner whose name was Jesus Barabbas. So when the crowd had gathered, Pilate asked them, "Which one do you want me to release to you, Jesus Barabbas or Jesus who is called the Messiah?" For he knew it was out of self-interest that they had handed Jesus over to him. While Pilate was sitting on the judge's seat, his wife sent him this message: "Don't have anything to do with that innocent man, for I have suffered a great deal today in a dream because of him." But the chief priests and the elders persuaded the crowd to ask for Barabbas and to have Jesus executed. "Which of the two do you want me to release to you?" asked the governor. "Barabbas," they answered. "What shall I do, then, with Jesus who is called the Messiah?" Pilate asked. They all answered, "Crucify him." "Why? What crime has he committed?" asked Pilate. But they shouted all the louder, "Crucify him!" When Pilate saw that he was getting nowhere, but that instead an uproar was starting, he took water and washed his hands in front of the crowd. "I am innocent of this man's blood," he said. "It is your responsibility." All the people answered, "His blood is on us and on our children." Then he released Barabbas to them, but he had Jesus flogged and handed him over to be crucified.
I was supposed to have died on this cross. I'd stolen, killed, and led a rebellion. And now my time had come. Or at least I thought. Today I stood before an angry crowd and they mocked me. And I mocked them back and cursed them. They screamed, "Barabbas! Murderer!" Give him what he deserves. I screamed back at them, fools! You don't know what you're talking about. I killed those Romans for people like you. I knew I was guilty. I wasn't just leading a rebellion for my people. I was in it for myself. A power-hungry rebel. A freedom fighter. A bandit who would stop at nothing to get what I wanted. Today, I would get what I deserve. How did my life come to this? I waited to hear my death sentence. These despicable Romans will have the last word after all, to die at the hands of these mongrels. Now that is the real mockery. Beside me was another man, but he didn't look much like a criminal. How did a rabbi get arrested anyway? What kind of true man would just stand there and not even try to defend himself? Didn't he care what they were saying about him? The crowd mocked him the same way they did me. But he said nothing. Some rebel, I thought. Why? What did he get arrested for? Trying to convert a Roman? Ha! Coward. I'll throw him a true insurrectionist. Then I heard Pilate say something to the crowd. Go ahead. Get it over with, you corrupt fool. You're nothing but a pawn for Caesar. As you know, it is tradition for me to release one prisoner to you today. So today I ask you, whom shall I release to you? Jesus, King of the Jews, or Barabbas, convicted murderer and rebel? What a mockery, as if this would ever really let me go over this deranged, harmless lunatic who thinks he is a king. A few people started to cry out my name. I hate you too! I screamed back at them. I know they must have been mocking me. Everyone hated me. They were afraid of me, as they should have been. I was the worst of the criminals. As if anyone would call for my release, I now stared death in the face. I would get what I deserve. The chant grew louder and louder. Give us Barabbas! Give us Barabbas! Release to us Barabbas! These people are relentless. But slowly I began to realize that they weren't taunting me. They were serious. I looked at them in disbelief and then locked eyes with the criminal who stood beside me. Who was this man? What could he have done that would have possibly been worse than my crimes? Suddenly, although I didn't understand why the guards released my hands and feet from the shackles that had bound me for weeks, I was free. I walked away from the chains, away from the punishment that I deserved, away from a hill that I was supposed to have climbed, and away from a cross that belonged to me. Now I stand here at this hilltop. They call this place Golgotha, the place of the skull. There is no worldly beauty. Only blood remains. There are no beautiful trees, no flowers, no beautiful scenery. But atop this hill, there is a view like no other. I stand here in the shadow of a cross that belonged to me. Someone took my place. They said his name was Jesus. Some say he came to die so that people like me could live. I don't know exactly who he was, but I do know this. This was my cross, and he took my place. All I know is what to do is to climb this hill every day and say, thank you. I was supposed to have died on this cross. Instead, I have found new life. I am no longer a prisoner, but I can never escape this kind of love. All I know to do is to embrace the love, to live in it, and follow the one who set me free and captured me.
Then the governor's soldiers took Jesus into the praetorium and gathered the whole company of soldiers around him. They stripped him and put a scarlet robe on him, and then twisted together a crown of thorns and set it on his head. They put a staff in his right hand. Then they knelt in front of him and mocked him. "Hail, King of the Jews," they said. They spit on him and took the staff and struck him on the head again and again. After they had mocked him, they took off the robe and put his own clothes on him. Then they led him away to crucify him. As they were going out, they met a man from Cyrene named Simon, and they forced him to carry the cross. They came to a place called Golgotha, which means the place of the skull. There they offered Jesus wine to drink mixed with gall, but after tasting it, he refused to drink it. When they had crucified him, they divided up his clothes by casting lots. And sitting down, they kept watch over him there. Above his head, they placed the written charge against him: "This is Jesus, King of the Jews." 2 rebels were crucified with him, one on his right and one on his left. Those who passed by hurled insults at him, shaking their heads and saying, "You who are going to destroy the temple and build it up in 3 days, save yourself. Come down from the cross if you are the Son of God." In the same way, the chief priests, the teachers of the law, and the elders mocked him. "He saved others," they said, "but he can't save himself. He's the King of Israel. Let him come down now from the cross, and we will believe in him. He trusts in God. Let God rescue him now if he wants him. For he said, 'I am the Son of God.'" In the same way, the rebels who were crucified with him also heaped insults on him.
Guilty, violent, careless,
From noon until 3 in the afternoon, darkness came over all the land. About 3 in the afternoon, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, my God, why have you forsaken me?" When some of those standing there heard this, they said, "He's calling Elijah." Immediately one of them ran and got a sponge. He filled it with wine vinegar, put it on a staff, and offered it to Jesus to drink. The rest said, "Now, leave him alone. Let's see if Elijah comes to save him." And when Jesus had cried out again in a loud voice, he gave up his spirit. At that moment, the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. The earth shook, the rocks split, and the tombs broke open. The bodies of many holy people who had died were raised to life. They came out of the tombs after Jesus' resurrection and went into the holy city and appeared to many people. When the centurion and those with him who were guarding Jesus saw the earthquake and all that had happened, they were terrified and exclaimed, "Surely he was the Son of God." Many women were there, watching from a distance. They had followed Jesus from Galilee to care for his needs. Among them were Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James and Joseph, and the mother of Zebedee's sons.
O sacred head now wounded, with grief and shame laid down, now scornfully surrounded, with thorns thine only crown. O sacred head, what glory, what bliss till now was thine, yet though despised and gory, I joy to call thee mine. What thou, my Lord, hast suffered was all for sinners' gain. Mine was the transgression, but thine the deadly pain. Lo, here I fall, my Savior, 'tis I deserve thy place. Look on me with thy favor, and grant to me thy grace.
As the evening approached, there came a rich man from Arimathea named Joseph, who had himself become a disciple of Jesus. Going to Pilate, he asked for Jesus' body, and Pilate ordered that it be given to him. Joseph took the body, wrapped it in a clean linen cloth, and placed it in his own new tomb that he had cut out of the rock. He rolled a big stone in front of the entrance to the tomb and went away. Mary Magdalene and the other Mary were sitting there opposite the tomb.
Cross of Jesus, cross of God on thee has bled. Hear the King of all the ages, throned in light, ere worlds could be, robed in mortal flesh is dying, crucified by sin for me. O mysterious, condescending, O abandonment sublime, very God Himself is bearing all the sufferings of time. Cross of Jesus, cross of sorrow, where the blood of Christ was shed. Perfect man on thee did suffer, perfect God on thee has bled.
God is dead.
As we stand in the darkness of the tomb, we bring the light of the hope of the resurrection.